Television, CBS Pittsburgh. And our special guest is the Deputy Press Secretary for President Biden, Karine Jean-Pierre. Hey, it's so nice to have you on with us, Karine. Thank you again for
Thanks,
being here.
John. You said my name perfectly. Thank you so much for that.
Well, I do have a little bit of French roots in me.
There
De
we
la
go.
noix, de la noix, de la
That's
noix.
right. That's right.
So, well, thank you again for talking to me. I really appreciate it. Let me ask you about this, the American Rescue Plan. I think a lot of folks here in Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania are sort of scratching their heads and saying, what does this mean for me personally? Can you give us the thumbnail real quick?
Yeah, you had the opportunity, John, as we talked earlier before coming on and on interviewing then Vice President Joe Biden. And when he was on the road, you've heard him when he was out there, he was saying, "We're going to get you help." Right? He was saying we have to give relief to the American people. That's what the American Rescue Plan does. It gives that help. It gives that relief. As you know, we are dealing with this compounding, this pandemic and the economy. Compounding crises that we had to get to work on. And he did that from day one, the president, and he made sure that he put together this big stimulus that met the moment, that really meets the moment that we're in. And now that he signed it today, he's going to go out there. He's going to make sure that he connects with the American people. He's going to be in Pennsylvania next week. And what this means in particular for Pennsylvania, when you think about the K-12 and opening up schools safely, there's going to be more than $5 billion for Pennsylvania to do that. When you think about the checks, $1,400 checks, this is to make sure that we make folks whole from the $600 that they got, because this is the promise that we made to the American people to get them that $2,000. You're going to have more than 8 million people in Pennsylvania alone that's going to get that check. And then for families who have children, there's a $1,600 child tax credit that they're going to get on top of that. So this is really to answer to the unemployment that we've seen across the country, close to 11 million people out of work, people who have lost their families, this pandemic that's taken us completely as a country, more than 500,000 lives lost. So now there's also going to be money for vaccination programs to a vaccination program so that we can get those doses into the arms of the American people. And that's what the American Rescue Plan does. And so much more. I just touched on a few things.
Well, there's an awful lot in over 600 plus pages for sure. Let me ask you before I ask you a couple details. I want to make sure I have asked you this. What is the president going to say to the country tonight?
So the president is going to, as I just started, commemorate and really acknowledge the lives that have been lost. More than 500,000 people in this country alone. What folks here had to deal with this pandemic, the loss that they've had, the loss of lives that we've all had to experience. So he's going to talk about that. And as we know, the president is just, when it comes to being compassionate and really touching people at their moment of need, he's so good at doing that. And then he's going to move forward. He's going to give people hope, which he does so well as too. And that is talking about how we're going to move forward. What else are we going to do? And he's going to do to get us to the other side of this. As you know, John, we have more than doubled the supply of vaccine into states in the last 50 days. This is also 50 days since we've been in the administration. We've made sure that we have put vaccinators out there, vaccine sites out there, because that's the way we're going to really get into the areas that are hard to get to, the rural areas that are hard to get to, places that don't have the big hospitals. We have to make sure that we get into those places. And so that's what he's going to do, is give hope and talk about how can we get to a place where it's more normal, right? But we feel like we're getting back to normal. And so that's what he's going to talk about. Give compassion, commemorate the lives that we lost, acknowledge what the pain that the people in this country have gone through, and move us forward in this moment as well.
As you know, Karine, none of the Republicans voted for this American Rescue Plan, including none of the Republicans from Western Pennsylvania. Of course, I've talked to from Senator Toomey to the congressman as well. And, they all describe this bill, as kind of a liberal wish list, as extravagant, as spending more money than should be spent. What's your rebuttal to them when they say that?
What I say to them is that this bill has received bipartisan support across the country. And we're talking about Republicans, independents, Democrats, bipartisan support. And so we saw numbers in polls that were at 77%. 59% for Republicans. It may not be popular right here on the Hill, right behind me, but it's popular across the country to the people that truly matter, the people who have faced the brunt of this pandemic, the brunt of the economic crisis that we're in. And that's who we are listening to. That's who the president is listening to. And that's who we are responding to, and being responsible and accountable is to the American people. And also, John, and you know this, we've gotten more than 400 mayors and governors across the country who have said, bipartisan, who have said that they support this bill. U.S. Chamber of Commerce have supported this bill. So this is an incredibly bipartisan bill that meets the moment of this crisis, and we had to act. The president understood that he had to act, and he did.
But why no votes from any single Republican in Congress?
That's something, honestly, John, that is something that they have to answer to their constituents on. That is something that when they do their town halls, or they're out there in their state or in their district, and they are asked that question, they have to answer to, okay, why didn't you vote for $1,400 checks? Why? That people will be getting right away. Why did you not vote for child tax credit that helped cut poverty, child poverty in half? Unemployment benefits, to extend unemployment benefits. Why did you not vote to make sure that we get doses into the arms of people? Those are the questions that Republicans on the Hill are going to have to answer.
A final question, because this is complicated stuff, trying to explain the child tax credit. We talk about, obviously, the 1,400 and the extension of unemployment benefits. That's relatively easy to understand. But are you able to tell us in kind of a little nutshell, what exactly is this increased child tax credit, and the fact that you might be able to get a check every month from the government, depending on the status?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, John. So on top of the $1,400 that folks are going to get who have been facing the brunt of this crisis that we're in, for folks who have family, folks who have children, they're going to get extra $1,600 to help them. Really, that's the child tax credit, to help them with. It's another additional way to help them in this moment of crises, right? We're talking about folks who can barely put food on their table to feed their children, who can barely hold on and to their homes and pay rent and pay mortgage. So this additional funding for the child tax credit, that $1,600 per child, is going to be tremendously, I think, helpful for folks, and help put that food on the table, help take care of their kids in a way that they want to, in a way that they really want to make sure that they have what they need as a family.
Karine, how do you access it? How do you put yourself on a list to get that? How do you?
That is a great question. The next process of this, people keep asking us, what's next? What's next? Well, now we have to get this out there, right? The checks are going to come out. People are going to get them as soon as this weekend. The next step is we're going to have a coordinator. When the vice president was vice president, when he was leading the Rescue Act and was making sure that things got out there to the American people, the needs that the American people got out there from the Rescue Act, he also had a coordinator that helped him do that. So he's going to bring on a coordinator, and we're going to make sure that we communicate in a way that people understand, like, okay, this is how you get the child tax credit. This is how the money is going to come to you. The $1,400 check is going to come to you. And so it's basically communicating with the American people. He's done it before. Been very successful doing that in 2009, and we're going to do that again. And also, he's going to be, like I mentioned, in Pennsylvania. He's going to visit Pennsylvania, Georgia, all the states many states across the country, to make sure that he makes that very clear and communicates with the American people on how to now move forward and get that help.
Well, Karine and Jean-Pierre, thank you so much for being with us today. It was really a pleasure to be with you, and I look forward to talking to you a lot more in the years to come.
Absolutely. I will be back, John. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paramount Plus. Woo!